Hey guys, and welcome to week 7 of international business. As you can see, this week we are looking at the topic of foreign direct investment, and everyone is all about investment these days. Look, you can see obviously Hillary Clinton is keen on not just investing in overseas industries, but in you guys, and even Eminem. And friends Patrick Stewart and Ian McClellan, in between just casually filming X-Men, they are all about investment. And so will hopefully you guys be by the end of today's or this week's videos. So with this in mind, we do have a few objectives for this week. We're going to firstly look to define, conceptualize and understand the issues involved with foreign direct investment, or FDI. We're going to look to examine the various political ideologies surrounding this key issue and understand the benefits and costs that are accrued by countries that do look to source and also host foreign direct investment. Now, as with all weeks, we do need to start by understanding exactly what it is that we are looking at with this week's topic. And certainly when it comes to foreign direct investment, it's one of those terms that we hear about a lot. You've likely heard people talking about it, you've probably read about it, but when it comes down to actually understanding what it truly means, people's reactions usually range somewhere along the spectrum from Ryan Reynolds to Britney Spears to full Taylor Swift. We'll hopefully resolve this issue so that you guys are all experts on FDI by the end of today. It can be roughly defined as when a firm invests directly in facilities to produce or market a product in a foreign country. So in a general sense, it's when a firm invests overseas so that it has a significant form of operations in that foreign country. Now, subsidiaries are subsequently created in these different countries, where the headquarters has both a significant control of the operations and can also affect the managerial decisions of the foreign operations. So it's these subsidiaries which are the actual outcome of foreign direct investment. As you can imagine, when the headquarters in the home country has this significant degree of control over those foreign subsidiaries, this can cause some problems in terms of the relationship between that foreign subsidiary and also the host government in that foreign country. So you often end up in a situation where you've got the home market, the head office in the home market, trying to bring as much profits back into the home market as it can from the overseas operations, while the host government, on the other hand, typically wants to maximise the benefits for the local economy. So you often have some tensions there which arise from these differing goals. In terms of understanding foreign direct investment, we can break it down further into distinguishing between horizontal and vertical direct investment. Now, horizontal direct investment is when foreign direct investment is undertaken in the same industry abroad as that which the company competes in its home market. So, for example, Toyota is a good example here. In Japan, Toyota manufactures cars. When it undertook FDI in Australia, it also manufactured cars, just in a different country. So it's doing the same thing, but just in a foreign market. Of the two options that we'll talk about on this slide, this is potentially less risky because at least you are doing the same thing. You are familiar, if nothing else, with the industry in which you will operate overseas. You will still have, though, importantly, what is known as the liability of foreignness, which is the inherent disadvantage of operating in a foreign market. Because if you think about it, when you expand overseas, yes, you might understand the industry itself, but you're unlikely to, at least initially when you expand internationally, have connections with suppliers, with key government figures. You're probably not going to understand the local consumer expectations and trends, as well as a local competitor. So while it is less risky, there are still some significant risks involved here. Even more of a risky option, but potentially more valuable, is vertical direct investment. And this can involve either backward or forward foreign direct investment. Backward vertical FDI is investments into industries that provide inputs into a firm's domestic production. So we're talking most commonly about expanding backwards, so to speak, into your supply chain. So it gives you first-hand access to a lot of key resources, the raw materials, naturally occurring resources, and other supply-based inputs that you need to make your product. On the other hand, you can also engage in forward vertical direct investment, which is investment in an industry that utilises the outputs for a firm's domestic production. So usually here we're talking about establishing a sales or distribution network or outlets in a foreign market. So you're able to actually directly sell your products in that foreign market. Now, a good example of a company that has undertaken vertical direct investment, both backwards and forwards, is depicted in the top right of your screens. Now, some of you may have identified which clothing company we're talking about. For those of you who haven't, it is Zara, the Spanish, I was going to say car manufacturer, the Spanish retailer of clothing and apparel products, has undertaken significant levels of vertical foreign direct investment. Now, they do own their own supply chain, which makes it both cheaper in terms of their ability to source those raw materials necessary to make their clothing products, but also ensures that they're able to have greater levels of quality control. They know exactly what materials and inputs they are sourcing. They do and have also invested heavily from a forward investment perspective. And this is illustrated very clearly a few years ago when they opened up their stores here in Chadstone, where people lined up for hours. God, I thought I had no life. They lined up for hours at Chadstone just to get into the store when it first opened. And the fact that they have owned their own stores is actually quite uncommon in the apparel retail industry. And most clothing manufacturers, when they expand overseas, will either license or franchise their distribution networks out to independent third parties. Zara wants to control that as well and ensure that it is also able to keep all of those distribution and sales activities in-house as well. So, as I say, a great example of a firm that's undertaken significant vertical direct investment.